In three, two, one. Fertessa's
Oh,
here!
yay!
Yay! It
We
worked!
made it work! Huzzah!
Yay! We made it work. So yes, welcome in everybody. Welcome to my wonderful guest and also friend of mine, Fertessa Allyse, game designer. We're going to be chatting with her tonight for the next 90 minutes or so. You might see there are some folks that are not here with us. Usually we have my lovely co-hosts, the House of Meeple, Joe and Abby. But tonight they are going to take off for some family time. So give them some love. I see them in the chat. Thank you so much, Phantom, for that. And hello to Beth. Welcome in. Hello, Matthew. Thank you so much, Joe, for that subscription for 10 months. I appreciate it so, so much. So yeah, friends, it's just gonna be the two of us tonight chatting and getting to know a little bit about Fertessa and what she does in the gaming sphere. But first, I will say tonight is the beginning of my October streams, everybody. And if you all were following me on social media, you will see that this month I am theming it Harvest Festival. So I'm going to be doing games either with harvests or with festivals or with both. So it was hard for me to decide because I could have done food, I could have done Halloween, I could have done, autumn or fall, if you will. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to throw all of it together and just call it Harvest Festival. So it gives me more freedom to do and play and be whatever I want. So yes, friends, join me Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays for some of those that are going to be happening here on my Twitch channel. You can follow me on social media at Jess_CCG for all of the updates and everything like that. So, with that being said, I am going to introduce my lovely guest tonight, Fertessa. Tell everyone, if they're not familiar with who you are and what you do in the gaming hobby.
Yes, hello, and thank you for having me on. And my name is Fertessa Allyse, and I'm a game designer. And right now, I work at Funko Games as a game producer. So I do a bit of designing and producing. And for those who don't know what that is, designing is like it sounds. You're designing the board game, and producing is more so like developing it and project management. So making sure how the entire game looks and getting it out on time, meeting, internal, external deadlines and things like that.
Awesome. And your pronouns for everyone so they know how to address you, Fertessa?
Yes, my pronouns are she, her.
Okay. Thank you. Just want to make sure everybody knows. So if they have any questions for you, because yes, friends, you can write questions directly for Fertessa tonight in the chat, and we will try to have her address them if we can get to them. I mean, we've got so many here. We might go on some tangents. We might talk about food. We might talk about our dogs. We might talk about other things that are not game related. So anything goes. But please feel free to pop them in the chat. And thank you to both Phantom and EC for those gift subs, for those subscriptions, resubbing. I appreciate you all so, so much. We're so close to a hype train, y'all. It is bananas, cuckoo bananas. So yeah, thank you. Fertessa, so you have been a busy bee lately. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just saw you at Gen Con 2 months ago, and it seems like it's just been this nonstop adventure for you with some of your games that are just being released. Talk a little bit about some of the last couple months for you and what those games are, what those games entail and things like that, because not only do you have one title under the Funko that just got released, but you also have another title from another publisher. Why don't you talk about both of those right now?
Sure. There's been a lot. There's been a lot going on in the last couple of months, and it's a culmination of, I guess, the last 3 or 4 years and things are just finally getting down the pipeline. So I mentioned before that I currently work at Funko Games, but before I came to Funko, I was an independent designer, and I had created 3 games that were signed under 3 other publishers. And so now they've been going down the pipeline, and most recently, Wicked and Wise has it's almost to the States. It had its Kickstarter last year. It's with Weird Giraffe Games, and it's my trick taking game, asymmetrical trick taking game, and that one is really close to my heart. We got to work with Beth Sobel on that, and Carla and I were able to just really work together and create something really beautiful. Really, the entire Weird Giraffe team, and now it's finally coming to fruition. And then at Gen Con, I was able to see it in its physical form, like the final physical form, which was amazing for the first time. And that is also where Jess and I met. And she got to see that moment, so it was really great.
Oh, that was so beautiful. The moment where you walked up to the Weird Giraffe booth, because for those that didn't know, I was helping out with Weird Giraffe during the Gen Con weekend, and Fertessa came by, and we were telling her, like, oh, cool, we're going to be doing this demo for Wicked and Wise, blah, blah, blah. And so we've got the box here. And I think you were like, I haven't seen it yet. And we were like, wait, you haven't seen the final production? And you're like, no, I haven't. So we're like, well, here you go. And it was just this beautiful moment of you just opening the box and looking at all the components, and just that vision for you, like your idea, your design to like come to life was, it was just so... It was so awesome just to like be in that space. Like, how did that feel for you? Because I know this is not your first design that you've done, but like, how was that moment, and just like seeing it and being able to like actually tangibly feel all the pieces that you imagined?
It was pretty amazing, especially because the majority of the development of the game was done digitally. And so it was really surreal to see these things that I've been moving around on Tabletop Simulator, just really in my hands, and like popping them out like a real game. And it felt very satisfying to know like everything had been for that moment. So and what you didn't see afterwards was I had a demo later that day, and the first guys that I demoed with, I was like, this is my first time like punching out all the things when I first opened the copy, and they're like, oh, you want us to take a picture? And I was just like, doing all the poses and things. Be very dramatic. So it's great.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so cool. So that was through Wicked and Wise. And then also at Gen Con was the availability to purchase your other game that you helped design called A Goofy Movie. Is it just a Goofy Movie game, or is there like a subtitle?
Nope, it's a Goofy Movie game.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Yeah, we decided to keep it pretty simple because so you knew what it was referring to, and we thought that was a great fit for the name. Didn't need subtitles.
Yeah.
But yes, the Goofy Movie game was the first bigger game that I got to work on for Funko. And man, has it been a year now? It might just barely be coming on a year when I started on that game.
Okay.
And our pipeline is a lot quicker than what I experienced as an independent designer. So it comes out quicker, but at the same time, I can't talk about it at all until it's out. So it's an entirely different experience of, oh man, I can talk about that now. So yes, that game I'd been working on in secrets, um, toiling away, and it finally was able to be realized, and got the copy in hand at Gen Con, and um, besides like just loving how everything came out, we also got to have the voice actors for Max and Goofy come to the convention, and so I got to meet them and get the copy of my game signed. So I was really happy about that.
Yeah, that was really neat too. And if you're not following Fertessa on social media, you need to, because there was this awesome, I think you posted it either on Instagram, I think, or Twitter, the video of them actually signing your copy of a Goofy movie. And just the interaction between the three of you was just gold. It was just like childhood nostalgia, like to 1,000.
Yes, yes. Like I cannot tell you the feeling of hearing Bill Marsden do his Goofy voice like to the T. There's no special effects needed on the mic. He did the he did the the yell and everything, and it was just like surreal. It was crazy.
Yeah. Oh man. And Jason Marsden too, who did a lot of voice work in the 90s. Like he was also acting and other things too, but he also did a lot of voice work, including, which I just watched again today for Tessa, the original Hocus Pocus.
Yes.
He was the voice of Thackeray Binks.
Yes.
Which was just so surreal. Like I remember when you like said that in it was I think I commented on it or something like that, and I was like, "What? No way!" And I totally went to IMDb, and I was like, "Wait a second, no way."
He's a crucial part of my childhood because it was Thackeray Binks and Kovu from The Lion King 2.
Oh,
and,
right.
And Max, and I was like, "Well, geez, that's my whole childhood right there."
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, that's too cool. Way too cool.
Yeah.
And Slivers is here. Hi. Welcome in, Slivers. Beth says, "Oh, wow, that is so epic." Yeah. Totally awesome. So cool that you can actually like have your designs not only come to life, but see like the things behind it and stuff. And so I think what's happening over at Funko has been some really cool work. I know there's the Rear Window game, Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window. There's also the Big Thunder Mountain game, which I also picked up a copy of because I was like, this is just super cool, because it's also part of my childhood, like going to Disneyland, and Big Thunder was one of those, like, you have to build up the like encouragement to go on that ride because it was one of the more intense rides, right? Like,
yes.
So yeah, so there's just some really neat stuff coming down the pipeline with Funko, and most notably is probably the Legacy of Isla Nublar.
Yeah, that one's I think just recently started fulfilling, so people should be getting their copies if they haven't already.
The Jurassic World. Is they calling it Jurassic Park or Jurassic World for Tessa?
Jurassic World.
Okay. Yeah, so get your dinosaur fix on that.
Yes.
But anyways, let's get back to some origin stories for you, for Tessa. We're talking about, nostalgia and things like that. How did you originally get into board games?
Well, originally it was something that I did with my mom, and my family in general. I was never into the hobby gaming until I was an adult, but just general board games, like checkers or what we call it, Pity Pat, which is a card game my granddaddy would taught me. Things like that. I always use them as kind of bonding moments with my mom and granddad. And then as I got older, I found that I just super enjoyed games, maybe for the nostalgia, maybe it was just something that was really entertaining because I was an only child. So that was something that I could kind of set up and play on my own, or make up rules for. And then I guess, early mid 20s, one of my friends introduced me to Catan, and I was like, "What in the world is this?" And then, but she lived in a whole different state, so I didn't get to pursue it. But that was my first taste of modern board games, and I loved it. And then, like 2, 3 years later, I finally met two other friends in Georgia who enjoyed playing board games, and we started getting together every month to try and play board games. And it kind of grew from there.
That's awesome. So with like the card games and things, do you find yourself liking more competitive games or cooperative games?
Absolutely competitive. I I am not a fan of cooperative. That's no secret. Um, and it's not even that it's a deep need to like destroy my enemies or anything like that, though that is pleasing. But it's just that for me, cooperative games, I think, complement a different kind of mindset that I have whenever I'm playing games.
Okay.
And like my processes, it just usually don't gel well with co-op games, following kind of the same formula. But there are co-op games that I like. They are out there and I have them. So it's not like 100% a no-go, but I'm
Yeah.
definitely
Do
competitive
you
during it.
feel like with co-ops you have to have the right game or the right group of people to play them?
Uh, it's usually more so the right
Okay.
game. Um, like I've had the right group of people and it's still not engaging because generally I find that co-op games are a bit like a puzzle that the group is choosing to solve together.
Okay.
However, people think at different paces and process differently. So if somebody processes the puzzle much quicker than others, they're going to suggest we should do, everyone in the group's like, that makes sense. Let's do that. However, I'm the person that would process much more slowly. And so in a lot of co-ops, I just end up following what the other person says because they're going to do it much more quickly. And I'm not even going to fully understand what the scenario is because I haven't had time to process it on my own. So I don't find it to be very fun. It's not even necessarily a quarterbacking issue, but just I if I'm not actively contributing in the solving of the puzzle, then I'm not getting anything out of it.
Okay.
So that is why.
Yeah. No, that's very well said, and that makes total sense too. Um, I enjoy myself co-ops, but it's usually because of the people that I play them with.
Mhm.
Not necessarily like the game style itself. So I could totally like see that as like people process things differently, and so being able to have the game that works and it's not frustrating where you're like, I need to get another hint again. Like this is just
Yeah,
doesn't work for me.
yeah.
All right.
I really like.
Yeah. So, going along the lines of like playing with friends, and you said that you had someone that introduced you to Catan, do you have a favorite board game memory?
Favorite board game memory. That's hard. I mean, I'm sure that I do. I just don't know on the spot. Let me see.
Sure.
The
That's
most
okay. We can put a pin in it, and if it comes back to you tonight, you could be like, oh, this is it. Uh,
I I do have one that
okay.
actually it inspires me to this day whenever sometimes I'm thinking about like the type of person I'm designing a game for or
Okay.
the moment that I'm designing a game for. And it's from high school when I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. Um, and it was never about the actual mechanics of the game. It was about the drama that was created around each game that I played with my friends because we had a
Okay.
whole Yu-Gi-Oh! Dueling club. And if you've never played that game, it's basically it's a pure card game. You have monsters, they have their hit points, and they have their different attacks. And it was based off a very popular anime at the time.
Yep.
In the early 2000s. So we would just go around school screaming catchphrases and like challenging each other. It's like, prepare to duel! It's like, you fool! You think you could ever stand to me? Don't you remember that? And it's just like, we would pass each other in the hallways mid-lunch or something and just get it right back going again. And it's just like these long-standing rivalries, which would go on for years. Even in college, we would come back, see each other, and it would just keep going. And
that's awesome.
That's my favorite kind of game moment.
Oh my gosh. That's so rad. So rad. Yeah, Beth is laughing and she says, I'm definitely a member of the Let's Get Another Hint Club when it comes to co-ops, but oh man, that's awesome. I could just see you, because I will say, Fertessa, you have quite a goofy side to you. You are very, very energetic when you're passionate about stuff. And I remember there was a TikTok that you made of the Pokemon theme song. And I swear I never laughed as hard in my life until I saw that video. It was phenomenal. Like, just, you knew every single word and there was just so much passion in your eyes. And then, like, you're like, so when you were explaining your Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels, that, like, instant image of that TikTok just, like, went back there for me. It was fantastic. Fantastic. Super fun.
Very passionate about my anime.
Yeah.
And my good times.
Speaking of anime, have you seen After School Dice Club?
What Dice Club?
After School Dice Club.
I haven't heard of it.
Oh, it is. Okay, I have to thank Phantom Meeple for this because it is an anime, Fertessa, that is based around three high school friends, and one of them works at a board game store in Japan, and they all come together and they play board games after school. And the titles of board games that you see in this show, like, the licensing must have been through the roof because they have almost, like, so many recognizable titles in this board game shop that you're like, wait a second, how did they get the license to actually print, like, one of the first games that they play is Six Nymphed. And so they have the actual card art. They're, like, teaching you how to play Six Nymphed. Another episode, they're playing Marrakesh, and it's just... It's cute. It's really cute. It's only one season so far. It came out in 2019, but if you have Crunchyroll or if you have Hulu,
I do.
Recommend watching it. After School Dice Club. I binged it in like a week because it's cute. The story is very light, hearted, but like every time they would go into the store, I'm like, is that Dominion over there? I see code names. I see this, It's like, that is
amazing to me. I didn't know anything about this. I will look it up. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and it's anime. So, it was. Yes. It's a fun show. It's a very, very fun show. All right, back to board gaming stuff. Fertessa, do you have a favorite game mechanism?
Worker placement. For sure.
Okay.
I really enjoy worker placement. That was when I started getting into modern board games. That was one of the most complex concepts for me to get because everybody had a different definition of what worker placement was.
Okay.
It was just kind of like everybody was kind of being tongue-in-cheek about it. It's like, technically, this could be worker placement because, X, Y, Z. And then another person would be like, I've written a dissertation on the different styles and mechanics in board gaming. And this is why this is a worker placement game. Like, I was researching, going on BGG, looking at all the old posts and listening to podcasts and all these things, but it's very hard to conceptualize what a mechanic is without actually playing a game.
True.
So it took quite a while for me to actually like find a meetup, and then like the game that they happened bring to the table was a worker placement. And then, you know, because there's so many different types of how it could be implemented, that was an interesting process for me to get to know this is a worker placement. But I will say that it is the first mechanic that stood out to me. Like, I really enjoy this, even in a game where I feel the game itself might be too complex.
Yeah.
I'm able to grasp the general concept of worker placement and what I should be doing just by it being there.
Okay.
And so it's something that I can always kind of hold on to when learning a complex game, and kind of figure out as a system.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I really enjoy it.
Do you have like a game in mind that you really like the worker placement mechanic in?
Stone Age.
Okay. Yeah.
Keeping it.
Yeah.
Stone Age is my favorite worker placement.
Yeah.
To this day.
That's a good one. Yeah, I was gonna do Feast for Odin there too, but yeah, definitely Stone Age.
I still haven't gotten to play Feast for Odin, if that's what you said.
Yes.
But I heard good things about it.
Yes. It is currently on Board Game Arena. If
Yes.
you play any games on Board Game Arena.
Every day.
So, yeah, if you ever want to spin up a game, I'd be more than happy to play it with you, because that's how I learned how to play Feast for Odin, was just playing it on Board Game Arena.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. If you could teach me how to play Feast for Odin, that's great. I play some heavier games on BGA, but those ones usually someone has to teach me first.
Yeah.
I only like learn the light ones on my own.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. We can make it happen.
Excellent.
Beth says, I read a dissertation. OMG. That's 100% the vibe I love to see from a co-designer of mansplaining. Oh,
Yes.
true. Oh, man.
Living to the name.
Yeah. So speaking of designing, Fertessa, do you have a favorite designer? Game designer?
Favorite game designer. Rainer Nietzsche. Yes.
Okay.
Nietzsche. Yeah.
The doctor, the good doctor.
Yes, I've been like, you know, playing games as they come to me hither and thither, but I noticed that the majority of Rainer Nietzsche titles that I played, I was just like, I enjoy this game, and then the person would be like, oh, this is a Nietzsche, and I was like, oh, well, I guess that makes sense. Seems like he's on a roll. And I mean, that seems like it would be hard to do when you're making like a lot of games like that. Like, there's
Right.
going to be great ones and bad ones, but I have had a magnitude of great one my way. So
Yeah.
currently that's he would go under my favorite.
Nice. Have you played Crisscross from him?
I have not.
Oh, small box game, travel size.
Yeah.
It's just 2 custom D6 and a whole bunch of paper, and super easy, matching symbols. Definitely look it up on BGG. It's Chris, Criss, and then Cross, Cross. It was one of my go-to games that I would play here in the chat with folks. And all you would
Yeah.
need is just a piece of paper and a pen, because they can draw out their grid to write the symbols down.
Yeah.
And I just had the 2 dice that I would roll for them. And I have played that so many times that I've taught gamers and non-gamers alike, and equally across
Yeah.
the board, everyone's just loved it. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, it's a definitely good travel game to go with, because It's honestly just the 2d6. You can just like throw it in your quiver or your dice bag or
Ooh,
whatever.
I love a good dice game.
Yeah.
I think my sweet spot of games is kind of right around that 60 minutes, and then also kind of easy to teach, small box, not a lot of bits, and easy to learn, maybe hard to master.
Yeah.
So abstract games, and then like a lot of the Nitya games that I've played have fallen right into that sweet spot of it's good and it's good enough that I would buy and like learn it and be able to teach it. So
Yeah.
that's the kick.
Yeah. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So with your favorite game designer, is there someone in the gaming sphere or someone that you looked up to as a mentor while you were going through your professional journey of being a game designer?
Yeah, when I started out, and I mean even now, uh, Carla Kopp
Yeah.
was a big influence for me, and I don't think she realizes that. But whenever I started out, that first year, I was again reading a bunch of posts, so very few women that I saw present in podcasts and just kind of present in the gaming sphere. And she was just very visible. So I um, was just very intrigued about her journey and what she was doing. And I think that encouraged me to continue pushing forward and to also, try and show what I was doing. And like I was super nervous when I met her for the first time. No reason to be nervous. She's like the most chill person you could ever be.
Yeah.
But I was like so nervous that I cried afterwards because she was the
Oh,
first. She was the very first that I had just spoken to. And she's just super approachable and very, very kind.
no. Yeah.
So I'm glad.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, I would say Carla, and also who's literally my mentor was Elizabeth Hargrave. She mentored me briefly for the tabletop network Voices, and I was a sponsor. I mean, a, a, a mentee
Yeah.
like 3 years ago, and so she helped me out as well.
That's amazing. And yeah, Beth says, "Yay, Carla. Carla is amazing." And it's funny because both myself and Beth and Angel, who
Mhm.
was here in the chat earlier, all three of us work with Carla. We're Giraffe too. So
Amazing.
we're like, we all know the amazingness that is Carla. And
Yes.
you're not the first person that was like, I was so intimidated or like scared to like talk with Carla. And she's like, I don't know why, but people sometimes get intimidated by me. And I'm like, well, you're very smart and you design a
Yes.
lot of games. And
Yes.
sometimes it's like, it's one of those things where she's just like her people skills sometimes can be a little bit harsh because she's just so intelligent that it's just like instead of like, hi, how are you, she's just like, hey, what do you want to do, or like, she's like very
Yeah.
direct in sometimes her conversations.
Very direct.
And so you're like,
No, very indirect.
so, and she
Yeah.
means no harm. Like, she's completely harmless,
Yeah.
but it's just funny
Exactly.
that sometimes the people with, like, the larger degrees and, like, very intelligent in certain areas, sometimes they, like, their social skills also need to be worked on a little bit, too. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like we complement each other. So it's like I'm very much not direct at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Beth says she gets as much done, speaking of Carla, in a week as I do in like 3 years. So yeah. Yeah. She's always like spitting out ideas, and like it's just so phenomenal just to see how her brain works. And then we're like, hey, have you snuggled with your cat today. And she's like, no, I haven't. And we're like, go snuggle with your cat and then come back to all of this stuff.
Yes.
And we just like do that because we just love Carla so much and we don't want her to fizzle out. So we're like, self-care is important. We love you. And and so this like last Gen Con, you know, a couple months ago, we like intentionally scheduled her schedule so that she wasn't in the booth so that she could actually enjoy Gen Con. Because a lot of times these publishers and these, you know, game owners and designers and things like that, they have to be on like every day of the convention. It's just like work. And there was no space for them to actually like walk through the convention space and to like see what other booths are doing and things like that. So we told her, we're like, we'll take care of the meetings. If there's like, you know, a fire that we can't put out, you know, metaphorically speaking, then we'll call you. But otherwise, like, you know, go walk the convention hall, go, you know, go see if we can find some cool ideas for upcoming games and things like that. And she told us, like, because of that intentionality that we all had as a group, we were able to give her just like a very chill Gen Con. So 100%. Carla is fantastic. So speaking along the lines of mentorship for Tessa, what is a piece of advice that you would give someone who is just coming to start in game design themselves? What would be something you would tell them?
If somebody's starting in game design, I guess it depends on what specifically they want to achieve with the game design. But if they were just getting started, I would say if you haven't already, to please go find a local meetup group so you can play as many games as possible with as large a variety as possible. That is always a good starting point.
Nice. And why would you tell them in that? What would be the benefit of doing that?
I think that you can definitely you can definitely create games with minimal knowledge of board games in general, because that's how I got started.
Okay.
I started making my game before I was actually into the hobby itself. And then I kind of went backwards and delved in from there with my research. But I think that it is going to help you have reference and be able to problem solve easier if you have a lot of experience and kind of not experience experience playing these other games and seeing how other designers solved problems that you may come up against. For example, with me, because I hadn't quite explored modern gaming, when I first started with my game, I had a huge problem about how to move my people. And the only reference I had was Monopoly and probably Candyland. Because Catan, you weren't really moving. It was just kind of like you roll the dice and, you know, you had houses and things there. So I was just like, how in the world can you even move? And just by playing different games, regardless of if they're games I thought I would like or not, I could see how each designer chose to implement that. And like I said, reading and watching videos can definitely help you, but the actual execution of it and how it feels as a user or a player is entirely different than kind of how you envision it when you're reading. It's kind of the same thing with a book versus a movie.
Yeah.
A book, something is super romanticized, and you know your brain can kind of fluff up the things that you can't actually see. But whenever you actually see it executed as a movie, you're just like, ugh, this just feels wrong. What is this? Or, you know, sometimes it's great. But the same concept is going to be happening, I think, for anything that is written, including people's descriptions of games or how they work. We romanticize them and our brain is filling in a gap that will be entirely different from the physical execution of it.
Yeah. Well said. Very well said. And Amanda Panda is here, and she says, Fertessa is amazing, super talented, and nice, and beautiful. Agreed.
Amanda makes the best cookies!
Yeah.
And hopefully I see you in a couple of days or weeks soon. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a question. Angel says, you said, Fertessa, for worker placements are some of your favorites. Do you have any plans for designing a worker placement type game?
I designed 2 worker placement games, but I can't talk about them because they're while I um they're while out. Well, actually, only one was while I was at Funko, so I can't talk about that one unless it comes out. But
Okay.
before I got started at Funko, I started working on a game where it was about dogs and dogs of royalty specifically. And I just really was tickled by the idea of the dogs of like kings and queens because actually, historically, they're treated differently. And they're sometimes a way of showing wealth. But, like, for instance, for the Queen Elizabeth,
Uh-huh.
she had a personal chef for her dogs.
Wow.
And things like that. You know, they would have these paintings and these busts and different things made for their dogs. So I just thought that was something really interesting. And I wanted to have like a cool worker placement doing that. I didn't get very far. I think I made like the very first prototype. And then I think I got stuck. And then I got hired at Funko. So,
Yeah, it
yep.
happens. It happens.
Yep. So yeah, that would probably be that is currently
Okay.
the only worker placement I have.
Where do you ever find yourself with designs that you put on the back burner to come back to in the future, or do you find yourself with some designs that you just shelve and go, that wasn't where I wanted to go to, and just kind of leave it be?
Design changed. When I was designing independently, I
Mm-hmm.
was very much tunnel vision focused, where I only did one at a time.
Yeah.
And I might like write a one-liner about a game that I found interesting to visit later down the line, but it really wouldn't go beyond like 1 or 2 lines. And then I would get to it in order. But when I started working at Funko, and like when designing games became the only thing that I had to focus on rather than like a full-time job and designing games.
Yeah.
I had a lot more mental space to kind of tackle game design. And so now I will come up with different designs and I will design games at the same time. And some of them I do shelve, and I made those with the intention of just going through the process of creation to maybe
Okay.
kind of shake the tree. And other times, I make them with the intention of hopefully stumbling onto something that's fun. And if it does seem fun, then I'll try and pursue it. And if it doesn't, then I'll shelve it and see if I could make it fun later. Um, but I mean, I think there's nothing that I ever just like permanently throw in the trash, but there are things that I definitely put less effort towards because I know it's kind of like it's playing rather than like making
Yeah.
for the purpose of like seriously pursuing it.
Yeah. That totally makes sense. Beth says, I'd watched so many Rahdo run-throughs before I actually got my hands on many games. Beth and Angel are also game designers as well. They're great for learning new mechanisms or checking out new things, but it's so different from actually playing games and making decisions and feeling game flow, etc. Yeah. So, Fertessa, with that, do you have an ideal player count or group when you play your games? Do you have, not necessarily for play testing, but when it's like, it's game night, I'm going to play, here's my ideal player count that I would like to play with?
I I guess it would be 4 players.
Okay.
I like the number 4, but most often my player counts are 2 people or 3 people.
Okay.
Um, and so I'm used to those counts, and they are also comfortable for me. I think though that a lot of games are made for 3 players and up. And I mean, there are definitely a lot of play games for solo and 2 player, but I think that a lot of games that maybe I own or that I'm interested in, they usually have kind of a 3 and up um, quantity for the game, or they'll say that they play best at 4 players. So that's why I think that's probably the more ideal.
Okay. Game night. Favorite snack for game night and favorite beverage for game night.
Uh, guess it depends on where I am, but favorite beverage would be cider or mead or water.
Okay.
And my favorite snack, probably pizza.
For game
Um,
night, you would have pizza at game night. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, pizza. I mean, not maybe not playing simultaneously. Usually eat the pizza first and then play, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
depends
yeah.
on.
So it's like a dinner
Um,
first and then everybody washes their hands and games after.
yeah, yeah. I don't too much like to snack during gaming just because, well, the grease or whatever, but also everybody's touching components, and everybody who has ever touched those components over the lifespan of the game is still on those components. So I just
Right.
do not want to uh, facilitate that going into my mouth.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed. And hello, Old Man Coaster. He says, favorite snack, anything not messy. I get it. I've also had people with skills use chopsticks for a lot of stuff. So they're like, oh, my
Mhm,
favorite's chips, or I like popcorn or whatever. And like
mhm,
people have learned to improve their chopstick using skills to make
mhm.
sure they could still game while eating snacks with chopsticks. Um, yeah. So
It's
pizza could still be
beautiful stuff.
done if there was
Yes.
some way to eat it with chopsticks.
You can cut it up. You can cut it up like a waffle,
There
but
you
that
go.
just feels wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, are you a
Sometimes I
folder
like just,
of the pizza slice for Tessa? Are you a folder? Or do you just eat it just
um,
as is, like the straight slice in your face?
I eat it as is
Okay.
because I am a very slow chewer, so there's no point in folding because it's not going anywhere. Um, but I appreciate the technique of folding. It's just lost on me.
Ah. Panda asks, how many games do you have in the design process at one time?
Um, I would say it's usually between 2 to 4. Um,
Okay.
it just depends on how big the games are. Um, and yeah, so if it's like a bunch of small games, then it might be more. But if they're huge games, then it will definitely be less.
Okay. Uh, Old Man Coaster says, I'm just trying to hold my hand of cards during the game. I can't be chopsticking chips at the same time. I'm not saying everybody should do it, Old Man Coaster, but I have had people say that it is helpful for them. But yes, that is kind of a meta game when you're playing
Mhm.
on a game night, trying to have them also maintain their snacks with the chopsticks. I can see that being an issue.
Mhm. I do
uh,
like maybe a bag of Skittles, and you just rip the top just small enough so that one Skittle could come out at a time, and then that way it's kind of handless. Well, not handless, but you don't have to pour them into your hand and then eat them. You can just pop them out of the bag without worrying about getting an avalanche of Skittles
yeah,
every
see,
night.
now we're getting into, technical things. This is a game designer This game designer tips right here, friends. Game designer tips. All right. So, Fertessa.
It's the cheapest system.
Yeah. What is the last game that you have backed on crowdfunding?
Oh, let's see. The most recent game, I believe, was Raw. I believe it was
Okay.
Raw.
Okay. When is that supposed to fulfill?
They just sent out an email, I believe, today, and I didn't read it. But I think in the next 3 months, because it's a reprint.
Yeah.
Now, that could just be me guessing and just pulling that number out of anywhere. But I'm just going to say the next 3 months sounds reasonable.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome.
All my other Kickstarters seem to be fulfilling or in the motions of fulfilling.
Yeah.
So excited.
Yeah. Or they're on a ship somewhere.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I think everything should be here by January. It is a safe umbrella.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Do you think the terms board game and tabletop are synonymous, or are they separate terms?
I think currently they are being used synonymously, but personally, when I hear the word board game, my immediate mental imagery is of a game board, and so a game using a game board. And tabletop game makes me think that it is any game that would be on the tabletop. So I think it is a less visceral term.
Okay.
I still consider like a card game to be a board game, but I think if I was talking to like my friends that aren't a part of hobby gaming and I said board game, they would very specifically think about Monopoly or checkers or something like that rather than like spades or some sort of card game.
Okay.
Or RPGs. So I think that's what that
yeah is. Yeah, that's a good definition. Angel says we just backed Lying Pirates, got sucked into pirates and pretty components. Yeah, see, crowdfunding sometimes, I was super close to backing Flamecraft just because of the cute dragon art.
I backed that all in deluxe version that came like a month ago. Love it.
My gosh. And now I'm like slightly having regrets because you have a copy, several of my friends have copies, and they're like posting pictures and sending me pictures, and I'm like, but I don't want to have regrets because I have so many wonderful games that I should not feel disappointment by like missing out, because I am super blessed by the amount of games that I have. But there was that small little moment when I was like, and you could have, you have your own dragon, and he could be a baker if you want him to be. And it was just too
I have that
much.
too, but I think that there's a balance because also there's like ones where you might have buyer's remorse because it didn't quite fit how you wanted. Yeah. And I think that it's good to like have your internal limits of how much you spend, because you never quite know what you're going to get unless you played it beforehand and then got it. But I find particularly with like Kickstarter games, a lot of them I have not played beforehand, and I'm going off of the dream that has sold to me.
Right.
And again, you don't know until you play it. So I'm just like, okay, this is my limit for the year. We're good, and we'll just wait until next year, and then we'll, back some more things.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Wait until next year. Beth says she also agrees with you, someone else who is literal with the term board game. Like all board games and tabletop games, but not all tabletop games are board games. Mm-hmm. That is very true. Old Man Coaster says, we kind of use tabletop and board game interchangeably, partially because others that we know refer to them that way. Agreed. So yeah, it depends, like what Fertessa was saying, who you're talking to kind of make that term synonymous. Because I know, like, when I like talk to people, if I'm like in the grocery store or something and I'm talking to the checkout clerk and they're like, you know, it's like, oh, how's your day? It's like, good, I just got off work. And they're like, oh, what do you do for work? And it's like, oh, well, I stream games online. They instantly think video game, right? Just because video games are more prevalent in an online space than board games are. So I have to like correct that term and I'm like, I stream board games online. And then from that, they kind of ask like follow-up questions like, well, how does that work? You know? So I could see that being kind of that interchangeable term. But when you talk about tabletop, I also include, you know, card games and dice games and RPGs and things of that nature too. Yeah. Cool. All right. Really important questions now for Tessa. If they weren't important before, your go-to player color is
purple.
Nice. Agreed. Same for myself. On your gaming shelves, horizontal, vertical, or if it fits, it sits?
If it fits, it sits. I tried to have a preference. I really tried. And, you know, for probably 1 week, that worked out. And then it was done.
Yeah, it's like, I'm looking at you, Burgle Bros. I love that game, but it annoys me to no end knowing that it doesn't, like, you can't stack it upright. You have to have it because the top is the part of the game, and yeah.
I think that's what defeated me, because it's not like Tetris. I mean, it could be, but also there are some companies don't necessarily align their logos the same way.
Yep.
You know, some can be red vertically and some are going to be horizontal. Some don't have it on the side at all, which drives me crazy. And then, you know, other ones have abstract shapes that don't even stack friendly. And you have to like display them specially, because like I did a thing where I tried to have like a big one that was just sitting, and then the other ones were stacked behind it sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, I've run out of room. It's fine. As long as they're on a shelf, because I've got like 10 games on the floor right now, and it's my floor of shame.
Aww.
So I'm just proud if I can get them on the shelf at this point.
Yeah. You gotta say your shelf, your floor of opportunity. It's an opportunistic floor. Because even though they're on the floor, it's opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah. Old man Coaster's like, oh man, these are the hard-hitting questions. I'm telling you, for Tessa, I let her know beforehand. I was like, just be ready. Okay, what is the most incredible bargain for Tessa that you've ever gotten on a board game?
Well, bargain? Sure. I got the big box of Dominion for free.
What? No way!
It was one of the first few gaming conventions that I went to, and he was like an independent designer, maybe.
Okay.
And I believe he was advertising his new game at the time. It was like princesses on cards, card game with like princesses. That was cool. They were fighting. And I was helping like film a video of how to play, or a sizzle reel. It was something like that.
Okay.
And as thanks, it like came up in conversation that like I really enjoyed Dominion at the time, and you know I didn't own it. And he's like, well, I have a big box of Dominion, and he had like either a duplicate or he had no need for it. And he was just like, I'll send it to you as thanks. And I was like, that's really kind. Thank you.
Wow.
So, I got a copy of the big box Dominion.
Wow. That is, I mean, how many expansions are there for that game?
I don't know total, but in that particular one, I feel like there are 4. It's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot. Unfortunately, I could not find too many friends to play Dominion with me. So I have not gotten to open it very often, but I remember sorting it into quite a few, and it had a lot of extra slots left. So when you did purchase the additional expansions, you could put them in there. But it didn't come like full to the brim with all of them.
Wow. That for getting it for free, that's amazing. That is amazing. All right.
It's very common.
Yeah, dang, that is a prize, says Beth. Yeah, absolutely agree. Cool. Okay, so now we're moving on to a part of our show that we call some rapid fire questions. Answer them as you will. There are no wrong answers here. But have you ever seen the show called Inside the Actor's Studio, Fertessa?
Sounds familiar, but I'm going to say no because I don't remember.
That's fine. It is a show that was televised with James Lipton from NYU, and he would interview actors. And the latter part of the interview with these actors, he would do these rapid fire questions. And so Phantom has taken these questions from the show and modified them to our board gaming friends and audience. So if you are ready, Fertessa, I'm going to ask you questions inside the Board Gamer Studio. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay. Question 1. What is your favorite board game?
Dune Imperium.
Oh, okay. What is your least favorite board game?
Something about zombies and co-op.
There's a lot of those games.
I know.
So it's like Dune Imperium, yes.
Yes.
Zombies and co-op, negative. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Got it. Okay, next. What board game makes you feel the most happy?
Taboo.
Okay. What board game makes you feel the most sad?
Sad. Maybe Spades, because I can't get enough players to play it anymore.
Oh. Old Man Coaster asked, was it Dead of Winter, the zombie co-op game?
That was actually the better zombie co-op game that I played because it had hidden information, but it was still a zombie co-op.
Okay.
Which worked against it. I've played several.
Yeah. Panda says, this question is hard because I don't play games that make me feel sad. Fair.
That's why they make me sad.
That is fair.
I cannot play them.
Next question. Which board game components do you love?
Wooden components. Whether it's wooden meeples, like just chunky tokens, or wait, do you want a very specific component? Or
No, there's no wrong answers, so elaborate as you will.
I really love chunky wooden, that's CHONKY, chunky wooden pieces. Raccoon Tycoon did great with those. They have a gigantic cat meeple, raccoon meeple, about yay big, and they make me very happy. And then Raw Splendor also has really great tokens, and Azul. I love that game just for the pieces. They're like Starburst that I can't eat, which is sad. That's another game that makes me sad because I can't eat those pieces. But that's probably good.
That's how I felt with Wingspan, because I can't eat those eggs. They're not chocolate.
Oh, those little M&M Easter egg things. Yeah,
they're not chocolate. Angel says she agrees those Crossword cards in Dead of Winter are certainly intriguing. Quack says, Old Man Coaster says, Quacks. Speaking of Quacks of Quinlanburg, makes me sad. I'm terrible at bag building. Yeah. Chonky components is a great answer. Bring on the chonk, says Beth. Yeah, agreed, agreed. Hello, Deadpan. Welcome in. All right, next question for Tessa. Which board game
Mhm.
components do you dislike?
Um, eensy teensy tiny fiddly bits that my fingers can't quite grasp.
Okay,
Um,
so like you wouldn't be doing the Tiny Epic series?
I have not seen their components, but that sounds like that would not be ideal.
Okay, all right, so teensy tiny bits that
Mhm.
don't fit into your hands quite well. Okay,
Mhm.
got it. Next question, and this question always makes me laugh. What board game, for Tessa, is so
Mhm.
bad it should become a curse word?
Have I played such a game? Mhm. Uh, I don't know, maybe have we play tested this game? I don't that maybe that game's wild since you can lose it in like one turn, I think.
Is
Have you
that
played?
the title of the game?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
okay. I thought you were
yeah,
asking me. I was like, I don't know.
no, I think it's called We Haven't Play Tested This Game or something like that.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
yes. Yes.
Interesting. Okay. We haven't play tested this game. Yeah. Oh man, that would be so funny. All right. Next question. Which profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Uh oh, I mean, before I got into game design professionally, I was attempting to be a visual effects um, artist. So I was interested in that and a writer.
Awesome. So were you doing work as like drawing visual effects or was it like graphic design?
Um, it was more like motion graphics, like
Okay.
After Effects, and I was pretty good. I mean, I'm still pretty good in Photoshop. But
Yeah.
I liked editing videos, so video editing, like making anime music videos. I liked doing that then, and yeah, I was super into editing and visual effects.
Okay. Cool. And as far as writing goes, was it a certain genre of writing?
Yeah, I was writing a fictional story, which I still am. The good thing about writing is you can always do it at any time, come back to it. And at one point, I did write a book. I wrote a full book, and then I was like trying to shop it around, and then I realized that it wasn't quite where it needed to be, so I threw it out, and then I decided to try and start over again. And 8 years later, I am still trying to reestablish what that story is,
Yeah.
but I have not given up.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, sometimes it takes time before you can enjoy what you're actually writing and feel good about releasing it, to the world. So that totally makes sense. All right, next question for Tessa. What profession would you not like to do?
Politics.
Oh, ooh, on all levels, or just like city council, or like you talk about
All
presidency,
levels.
like
Just absolutely not. That was just a first. That was a thing I knew, like as a preteen and teenager, that I was just against my my soul and what I enjoyed, and I think that it takes a strong person to be able to navigate politics and keep their core. And I feel like that is not an atmosphere I could like continually be in and succeed. So
Yeah,
about politics.
that's fair. No, that's a fair. Like I said, there's no wrong or right answers. There's just some rapid fire questions. Okay. And last question in this rapid fire for Tessa. If heaven exists, what would you like God to say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Um, First, you tell me all of where my socks were hidden, which ones my dog ate, and which ones I legitimately lost on my own. Um, there are a couple of lost items that I feel like could be answered on that. And then I think those were like the most pressing. Those were the most pressing concerns. Um, yeah.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. Like, here's where all the things are in life.
Yes. That's I think that would give me immense relief. Just immense relief.
That's awesome. And there you have it, friends. That is the James Lipton questionnaire that we've modified for inside the Board Gamers studio. What did you think of those questions, Fertessa?
I was just like, what am I gonna get caught off guard with? But I thought they were good rapid fire questions.
Good. Good. Yeah, we try to throw them as like softballs for people, but sometimes there's like, because there's some games when you're like, I don't want to say I don't like this game because somebody might like this game, and like there always has to be a game out there for folks that just don't like, certain games, and that's okay because the glory that is board games is that there's such a wide gamut of them that there's something for everybody. So, yeah.
I think that the one that threw me off was actually the board game that makes you sad. I was like, I know a board game that makes me mad, but sad?
Yeah.
Only because I can't play them. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was totally fair. That was a fair answer. Some folks are agreeing with you that politics is not for them. And Angel says we need to mail for Tessa some socks so she can feel sock rich enough to lose some on an occasion. Angel, that's so kind. Everybody just mail some extra socks for Tessa. And
I am no joke. I think I am down to 3 pairs of socks, and I don't know where they go. I know my dog has a habit whenever she wakes up, picking me up, she gets very excited and she takes one of my 2 socks. And most of the time she takes them to her food bowl. But there are other times where it's just like, and now I will never find the other pair, and I no longer have a pair of socks. Yeah.
Yeah. That is the thing where it's one thing where it's like my dog, ate the socks. It's also another thing I've heard common where like your dryer just so happens to like magically like make socks disappear. And I've always wanted to investigate that because it's like, where would they go? Like,
where do they go? Exactly. It'll be like 7 months later and I'm like, hold up. I haven't seen this thing in a long time. When's the what?
Yeah.
It's gone. It's too late.
It's too late. Beth says she has 2 pairs of knee highs and will fight for them, so I can totally relate. Yeah. But I mean, sometimes you can't fight with your pets as much as you like love them and they like take your stuff. It's just like, oh, well, you're too cute. I don't want to do anything to make you upset. So fine, you can have that sock.
Yes, mine looks like a little teddy bear, so it's very hard. And also, often it's too late when I look over on the couch and I'm like, what are you chewing on? Oh, that's just my sock. Too late for that now. It's gone.
Panda has a good tip. She says, buy all of the same sock style and color so that there's no pairs. You can just wear any 2 socks.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's good advice,
Smart
Panda.
thinking.
But I wear so many different colored socks. Like I have my own dedicated drawer in my dresser just for socks. So that would be difficult for me. Granted, with my husband, he wears all the same color for the most part. And so he could basically draw out any two black socks that he wants. It's just black. There you go. There you go. Just pair them up.
I love that.
But I feel like for you, Fertessa, you would have a lot of different, like, fun decorative socks in your collection.
I mean, I had on occasion. Like I have right now I'm wearing cat dog socks, and I have another that was, I forget. But again, these socks get targeted by my dog. So I was really happy to have just neutral colors that could blend in with whatever I was wearing. And, you know, I really love that Doug Funny lifestyle of just have the same outfit.
Yeah.
Over and over again. So I think I'm going to just do that because it's much easier than finding a pair.
Yeah. There you go. Words of wisdom from Panda, everybody. Words of wisdom.
Struggle of my adulthood.
What'd you say, Fertessa?
I just said the struggle of my adulthood.
Yeah.
I never did.
Hashtag adulting, right? Hashtag adulting. Oh, geez. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation, Fertessa. What can folks look forward to from you? Are you going to be at any upcoming conventions this year? Like maybe folks can find you and say hi. Do you have anything coming up? Any more travel plans in the convention space?
For 2022, I'm only going to one more convention that I know of, unless something else is popping up in Seattle. But in November, I will be in Texas for BGG Con and the Tabletop Network Conference. So if you're going there, then hopefully we could maybe get a game in. I'm only going to be there for like a small portion of the BGG Con though, because my parents live there, so I'll be hanging out with them too. And then 2023, who knows what happens. There are a lot of places I want to go, but we'll see how much vacay time we have. We'll see how much traveling I'll be doing.
So then after BGG, anything in the next, like early 2023 that folks can look forward to?
In January, there is OrcaCon, and there is at least a 50% chance that I'll go because it is in my city. So as long as I am not taking vacation at that time, I will be going to OrcaCon.
Nice. Yeah, I will look forward to seeing you, hopefully, at OrcaCon. If not, I'm just going to have to plan like a Seattle trip and just come see you because you're up there and Anna Maria's up there and Sobel is up there. And, you know, so many wonderful people are just a couple hours away.
I was just at Anna Maria's Sunday. Today's Monday?
Yes.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
No, it's just at her doing an RPG. She's awesome.
Nice.
And Beth is awesome.
Yeah, I see you have do you often do like doggy play dates together? Because I see sometimes on Instagram.
Yeah. Anna Marie and I usually meet up like once a month if we can, for some sort of game brunch or something. So I bring my dog over, and Juniper is Anna Maria's dog, and she's there as well. So we're trying to get them to socialize. Juniper's got that good puppy energy, and unfortunately, my dog is a bit of a miser and hates puppy energy. So we're just trying to socialize them and get them nice and chill with each other. My dog's more of I'm more interested in people than dogs sort of dog right now.
Aww. Well, there you have it, friends. This concludes our night of chatting with the lovely Fertessa Allyse. Thank you so much, Fertessa, for joining me this evening. Congrats on all the cool stuff that's coming out of Funko for you. And I mean, we're going to be chatting in the future just because of all the weird giraffe stuff happening with Wicked and Wise.
Yes.
It is fantastic. Follow Fertessa on the socials right there so you can get all the updates from where she's going to be traveling and where you can get some of her games and things like that. I do know that Wicked and Wise is available for purchase on the Weird Giraffe website, as well as Funko has the Goofy movie game, I believe, also on the website too.
Yep.
for Funko.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and
On
yes,
Funko
thanks.
website and Amazon.
Yeah. So I know that you all can get your hands on them. And yeah, thanks to Old Man Coaster and Beth and Angel and Panda. Panda says she hopes to meet up with you soon.
Yay!
Yeah, hopefully that will happen. I'm going to send everybody over on a raid to the wonderful Ambi Rona. She is currently playing an online puzzle game with Joe Sondow. And so this is kind of their Monday evening thing, and just give them some love. Joe and Ambi are wonderful parts of our community, so I am definitely looking forward to giving them some love tonight. But in the meantime, friends, you can catch me for next on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. I'm either going to be playing Three Sisters or Gift of Tulips. I'm not sure yet. Trying to think of what my harvest game is going to be, but that's going to be at 11 a.m. on Wednesday. And then Friday is the start of PandaCon, everybody. Amanda Panda is coming to visit. And so we're going to play board games on Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. But make sure you're following us on socials so you can get all the info, all the updates, and everything like that. Fertessa, you have been phenomenal. I appreciate you. Keep being awesome. And until next time, friends, stay safe, enjoy your board games, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.